The SEC is trying to control how we invest in crypto, and that needs to stop. After looking at the entire history of SEC enforcement actions against crypto, one thing stands out. The SEC is all bark and no bite. Sure, crypto companies have been served a lot of enforcement letters, especially lately. But as these cases get settled, one thing becomes clear: full control of crypto is far outside of SEC control. Let's get it. Welcome to BitBoy Crypto. My name is Ben, and I figured out that this irrational fear of crypto being destroyed by a tyrannical lizard person is nothing more than a bad dream. Today, I'm exposing the truth. I'm going to show you the details about the SEC and its attempt to regulate crypto. This is something they do not want you to know, and we're going to give you the info today. I want to take you through the history of SEC enforcement actions against crypto to show you one important fact. Nothing the SEC has ever done has affected crypto much at all. And that has 0% chance of changing anytime soon. So to start, let's go back to 2013, when SEC enforcement actions were pretty rare, and they were mostly taken against scammers who used digital assets to defraud investors. But before we really get into it, if you like crypto content, make sure to go ahead and hit subscribe to the channel and the notification button, and make sure while you're at it, smash that like button. First crypto SEC case that happened on July 23rd of 2013, looks like they had it coming. It's SEC versus Shavers, and they received enforcement actions for defrauding investors in a Bitcoin-denominated Ponzi scheme. Sounds about right. The SEC also went after a bunch of stuff on hacking and insider trading, market manipulation, false tweets, fake websites, the dark web, all the things they should probably go after. After the first case, there are a few more between 2014 to 2017, like SEC versus Eric Voorhees for Satoshi Dice, a company that made him only 15 grand and ended up costing him $50K in restitution and fines. But it's not until 2018 when the fun in crypto really starts for the SEC. This was a time when ICOs, or initial coin offerings, were pumping like last cycle's dog coins. Over 200 crypto ICOs were launched in 2017, which was a lot at that time. They were all the rage, and you can see from the history of enforcement actions that the SEC was scrambling to keep up with ICO mania. Also similar to the last bull cycle's meme coin mega pumps were the numbers of outright scams in the ICO boom. Many of us who have been here a few cycles aren't surprised to find Paragon Coin on the list, a company that raised, or let's be honest, scammed, $12 million to merge blockchain technology with cannabis. Sounds like someone was getting high on their own supply when they thought that one up. That's a good line. DJ Khaled, another one, was in the hot seat for showing an ICO that he held a lot of, and Floyd Mayweather Jr. found himself in trouble for the same thing. And of course, Floyd Mayweather, famous for not being able to read the room, or even able to read the SEC enforcement letter to him. He had to have somebody read it to him. This continues well into 2020 with SEC versus John McAfee for promoting an ICO, and SEC versus Telegram, where they had to return $1.2 billion to investors, pay an $18.5 million fine. And this is consistently how these cases are resolved. Fines, repayments, money. They don't go to court, and some of them haven't even been settled. The Telegram case foreshadows another element of how the SEC is attempting to regulate crypto today, trying to classify digital assets as securities. Even in 2020 with the Telegram case, it was clear that if the company was sufficiently decentralized, the ICO would not be considered a security. But because Telegram is a centralized company, they had to return $1.2 billion to investors and pay the $18.5 million fine. You're seeing the SEC playbook, right? It's called pay up. During this time, we started to see a few legitimate crypto projects get slammed, but mostly it's just a lot of scams, like Metacoin One, a cult of pseudo-religious scammers who claim to back its assets with a $1 billion art collection and $2 billion in gold, promising returns of 200,000%. Wow, where do I sign up? Sounds good. These are the kind of psychopaths we want stopped. I wish we lived in a world where no one falls for this kind of thing, but it's clear that we don't, and people fall for it all the time, no matter how many times we warn them. Now, the actions we've taken a look at so far, pretty reasonable, to be honest with you. The SEC was borderline tolerable until December 22nd, 2020. The SEC filed an action against Ripple Labs and two of its executives, co-founder Chris Larson and CEO Brad Garlinghouse. The SEC said Ripple raised over $1.3 billion through unregistered securities in the sale of the XRP token. This one hit hard, and the price of XRP was all but stripped of its bull run, tanking immediately from 55 cents to 30 cents. While other altcoins were getting 20, 30, 50x price pumps at the peak of the market, at best, XRP saw 9x the entire bull run. And that's only because people like us realized that Ripple had a shot at winning its case against the SEC. The case isn't settled yet. And as you know, I think XRP is poised to be one of the top performing digital assets in the cycle, if not the number one. We think they're either going to win or settle, but I think that won't even really matter because the XRP token will have zero chance of being regulated as a security on the secondary market. Here's why. LBRY versus the SEC. Let's start at the beginning. So a year later, on March 29th, 2021, the SEC issues an enforcement action against LBRY Inc. for, you guessed it, offering unregistered digital asset securities and making money from it. All told, they generated just over $11 million. In this case, it actually settled, and LBRY lost. Yes, it was a sad day when on November 17, 2022, the SEC won summary judgment over LBRY Inc. Now, we can talk about how the case was settled in New Hampshire, one of the smallest court districts in the entire country. And the LBRY didn't have enough funding to even have a shot at winning the case. But whatever the circumstances are, the truth is, crypto did take an L here. Or did we? Because on January 31st of 2023, a judge ruled against LBRY's token being a security on the secondary market. And as far as the regulation of crypto goes from this point forward, that's all that matters. The secondary market is not a security. The precedent is there and it's clear. So as it stands, the SEC can't regulate crypto on the secondary market. It's mind-blowing. You'll see this theme throughout SEC enforcement actions in the following year as well. They don't actually do much. Stop giving them too much credit. It's all fines, settlements, backroom deals, and slaps on the wrist. Next, we've got BitConnect. BitConnect! Who were scammers? SEC versus Kim Kardashian for her annoying "Are you into cryptocurrencies" Instagram post showing Ethereum Max when we told you it was a scam.
And I feel bad.
That's just plain stupid. And sure, these are the enforcement actions we probably need to see in some form or fashion. You know, this one belongs up there though. SEC versus Bankman-Fried. We're orchestrating a scheme to defraud equity investors. Yeah, no kidding. Terraform Labs for a multi-billion-dollar crypto asset securities fraud.
And then I think I had one burrito throughout the entire time.
A burrito?
These all make sense. They should be up there on the SEC enforcement website. Don't forget though, some of them are still ongoing, so we don't actually know how they plan to deal with the real crimes happening in crypto. Probably just more fines and more paybacks like in 2013, but hopefully at least on a much larger scale. And now here we are. 2023 and the SEC has turned its attention to crypto staking as unregistered securities. The SEC has gone after Genesis for its lending arm, Gemini Earn. Payward Ventures, or Kraken, who agreed to discontinue unregistered offer and sale of crypto asset staking and pay $30 million in a settlement. And now, Wells notices warning of enforcement actions going to Coinbase and Paxos, the company that issues Binance's stablecoin, BUSD. So what's next? The SEC is telling everyone, stay away from crypto securities. They released an official statement and said, under the federal securities laws, a company may not offer or sell securities unless the offering is registered with the SEC or an exemption to registration is available. But there is no come in and register with the SEC. Just ask Brian Armstrong. He's been trying to make Coinbase SEC compliant and says that they won't even come to the table to talk. Coinbase makes a compelling argument for why staking services aren't securities under the 4 tenets of the Howey test, which, by the way, was defined to regulate citrus orchards in 1946. In a blog post, they say that staking isn't an investment because it never leaves your wallet. There's no common enterprise because it's decentralized. There's not a reasonable expectation of profit because rewards are payment for helping to secure the network. And stakers don't make money off the efforts of someone else. Maybe it's the efforts of someone's computer equipment or software, which Coinbase calls more of an IT service than anything else. It's obvious from that explanation that the SEC is going to have one heck of a time fitting crypto and a one little Howey test box. So what's the takeaway here? It's simply this: stop being scared of the SEC. They've never done anything earth-shattering to crypto. They've sent a few letters, made people pay some money. That's it. And this whole unregistered securities narrative isn't shaping up so well for them because we finally have the results of the LBRY case. Yes, they sold unregistered securities in its ICO. But according to a judge, sales of its token on the secondary market does not fall under securities laws. Catch up to all this stuff and more. My new book, Catching Up to Crypto. I just finished recording the audio book. It'll be out soon. We talk about a lot of this in the book. Link in description. That's all I got. Be blessed. BitBoy out.